Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you along while I cook dinner. I am very excited because I'm cooking one of my favorite dinners. We are making pesto tonight. I got this recipe off of Pinterest and I just kind of tweaked it a little bit to what I liked. I also made it dairy-free. I like to write all my recipes down in little journals. I just like reading a recipe off of paper better than off my phone. And I just don't like having my phone around when I'm cooking. I just feel like I'm gonna like drop it in something or wreck it. So I write all of my go-to recipes in this little notebook. So for this recipe, I bought as much of the stuff I could at the farmer's market. So this recipe is super simple. It just calls for 3 cups of basil. Sometimes I add a little spinach in there, like half and half. And sometimes if I don't have fresh basil, I'll just do spinach and then add a bunch of dried basil. Just one of those little containers you can buy at the store. And that tastes very good as well. Basil, lemon juice, salt, olive oil, and pine nuts. I've changed this recipe so many times. Honestly, you can use whatever you have. If I don't have basil, I use spinach. If I don't have olive oil, which I don't have today, I'll just use a different oil. And I don't have pine nuts, but I've used cashews before, and that works just as well. So we're just going to be tweaking it a little bit, but the original recipe is good as well. I will write it down below so you guys can follow the original recipe, and I will just kind of talk through what I switch up today. So I got all my ingredients out. I'm using sunflower oil instead of olive oil. I just have this lemon juice, salt, pepper, basil from the farmer's market, and cashews instead of pine nuts. So first I'm just gonna take all of these basil leaves off of the stem. I really do like how the spinach pesto tastes as well, but this will be like real pesto, except no pine nuts. Okay, now that I've got all my basil picked off the stems, you're going to need a blender. Just put the basil in the blender. Okay, next up, half a lemon, so I just kind of put a little splash of lemon juice in here. You can always add more later. I added too much one time and it was just very lemony. It was still okay, but a little more than my liking. Okay, half teaspoon of salt. I start with this, I always end up adding more later. Put a little pepper in there. The recipe doesn't call for it necessarily, but I still put it in there. Then we need a half cup of pine nuts, but I'm using cashews. And a 1/4 cup of oil. I'm just using sunflower oil because that's what I have. Pour that all in there. Now, you just blend it up. Okay, I blended it up and I just felt like it needed a little bit more oil. It was kind of dry. So this is about what it should look like. Now I'm just going to cook up some chicken. I usually make the pesto with some chicken and pasta. So that's what I'm going to do next. But first I wanted to give you a little plant update. If you guys watched one of my last videos, you would have seen my avocado plant that I've been growing. It is quite bigger than last time you saw it. This is like giant. I'm so happy with it. It's doing very well. Then I just seasoned my chicken with some salt, pepper, and onion powder, and now I'm going to fry it up in my cast iron skillet. Now I'm just gonna take my pesto. Trust me, I don't just eat it like this. my sister-in-law made pasta once and she just ate it straight like this. And she was like, Maggie, how do you eat that? It's so disgusting. I was like, well, I don't eat it like that. I just add some oat milk to it, or I add some cream or milk to it. I mean, it might be okay like this, but I think a cream sauce is always better. Okay, then I'm just gonna add 1 to 2 cups of cream. I add oat milk to make it dairy-free. You can really use any milk that you prefer, whether it's just regular whole milk or oat milk, almond milk, whatever you feel. Thankfully, I ran to the store and got another oat milk. So this is what it looks like. I'm gonna add my oat milk. I'm just gonna start with 1 cup and see where I want to go from there. This is the milk all stirred in. I think that looks pretty good. And if it ever does get too thin, you can always add some cornstarch or arrowroot starch or flour, whatever you want to use. Okay, I changed my mind. I'm going to add a 1/2 cup more of oat milk. You can just kind of do it as much as you'd like. There's no right or wrong. When I follow a recipe, I usually just kind of like have it as a reference or a guide, and then I just kind of tweak it to what I like. And since we added all that oat milk, we're going to need a little more salt, a little more pepper. I feel like I want to splash more of lemon juice and whatever onion powder I have left. I've never done this before, but I thought it'd be yummy to add the pasta sauce to the chicken juices. Okay, this is what it looks like all done. Now we're gonna do a taste test. You can't even see your face. You're too tall. How is it?
I will be eating all of this.
Willow says bye too. Bye.
Did I say hello? So.